how do you get an NBA player to wear your shoe and see the value in it?
Everybody's looking at those guys, but what about these guys? Who's really focused on those guys and giving opportunity? Let's look over here. Let's actually create something that would incentivize them to put on our sneakers.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Kicks Factory Show. Thank you again so much for all the support. The show's been doing great. We've had some wonderful, wonderful guests. And today you are in for another treat with another very special guest, good friend, someone that I want to just really put a spotlight on, who's done so much, and also done something that's very difficult to do in starting a brand from scratch, which we're going to dive into a little bit more. But, without further ado, would like to introduce my next guest, Mr. Quintin Williams. How are you, sir? Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm well, man. I'm well. Super good. I'm super good. Ready to be here and, get my experience, man. We've been known each other for years now. So pleasure to be here. Pleasure.
Yeah, no, it's been a minute. I've been watching your journey since we connected. I was trying to remember exactly how that happened. If it was like just a virtual thing or a mutual friend. I feel like we connected through social maybe, and then just kind of always kept tabs on one another.
I think I don't know who. I think I found you online, man, because I saw some renderings of yours, and then it led to the New York factory.
Yeah.
And I was, this is when I was still in college and I'm about to graduate. So I'm trying to get into the industry, and I hit you and you kind of gave me some nuggets, man. And yeah, man, it's the internet, man.
Yeah, I know, man. It's crazy. The world is so much smaller because of it, which is a good and a bad thing sometimes, right? But yeah, let's jump into it, man. So how's your 2021 been going so far? 2020 was a doozy for sure.
Yeah,
for everyone. I mean, there's so many things that we can get into, but what's transitioning from 2020 into 21, what has that been like for you?
It's been actually it's been good, man. A lot of things are coming back online. We left, again, 2020 was just like, just throw that away. It didn't happen. Yeah. But we're, getting back to conversations with some, distributors and retailers, and, we were trying to lock those in at the end of 2019, and then here comes COVID, and then that just puts all that off the table for a minute. But now it's kind of coming back online as people feel more comfortable with what's going on financially. So that's been encouraging, man. Factory, same thing, So I can't complain, man. It's coming back online. Basketball season's coming back in, especially for us. AAU season, high school ball and stuff like that. That's really our boatload of where we get ourselves, just like that grassroots area. So
yeah,
it's been coming back online. So that's great. Excited about that, bro. So
that's great, man. That's great. Yeah, no, 2020 was crazy. It almost reminds me of like the blip from the Avengers when like everybody just disappeared and then they all of a sudden they came back. Later it was like it was just this blip, man. That's basically what it was.
Dude, it's just, oh my goodness. It's still like, man, I still don't believe it happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's nuts, right, man. So you're from Georgia, right?
I am.
Yeah. So what was that like? Well, where exactly in Georgia are you from? And what was that like growing up there?
Elko, Georgia, ELKO. It's middle Georgia. I grew up literally 2 houses down from my dad's mom, my grandmother.
Okay.
And then my story, man, my granddad, and even before him, farmland, man. It was all rural, dirt roads, getting off the school bus, filling up the two tanks of water, going down to the pigsty and feeding them and putting hay in the bin for the cows. And I'm a Georgia boy, man, like all the way through. And very small town. Everybody knows each other. Just good energy, man. Nature, kind of just away from the whole city thing.
Right.
That's how I grew up. And I love that I grew up there. It was a lot of solitude, and it really I had a lot of time to kind of develop truly who I am without being influenced.
Mm-hmm.
So I take it as a great thing for me to be able to do that. And then, after high school, decided to really dive in deep into design, man, and went over to Savannah at SCAD, which is only from there 2.5 hours east.
Mm-hmm.
So I was close to home, but still, a little bit ways out.
Mm-hmm.
And just really just dive deep, man, into what I always loved, which was design and art, man. It was amazing,
That's awesome. That's awesome. I want to circle back to your upbringing a little bit. And you just talked about growing up on a farm, and I don't know much about how that works, and I don't know many Black people that grew up on a farm either. So I gotta circle back to this for a minute. Talk to me a little bit about maybe some lessons that you learned, and some of the things that you carry with you to this day that you developed at that time, taking on that kind of responsibility.
Man, hard work, man. Hard work. And only you can put it in. It's like, especially when you got livestock that depends on you to do it, there are no excuses. You do the work because you have to.
Right.
And you do it every day. That's what I took away from that, man. My dad and his brothers and sisters, they had it worse than I did. I mean, you talking about they're in the field after they get off the school bus, picking squash, turnip greens, whatever's in the field for the season. Right. They out there picking it. Summertimes, they didn't have that, I'm just staying at home and playing around. No, it's like, no, you're going to get in here, you're going to work.
Yep.
And that whole ethos of hard work stuck with me, and it's still here. And so I take that with me, man. That's a life lesson that I think anybody should be applying to anything that they want to do in life.
Yeah.
Because it gets you what you want ultimately if you put the work in every day. The consistency, hard work, consistency, no excuses.
Yep. No, that's a fantastic message. And for those who are, I would imagine, I hope most people know where Georgia is, but if you don't, it's way down in the southeastern part of the United States, and it gets hot down there, especially in the summertime. The humidity ain't no joke down there. So I could only imagine. You were listening to the Kicks Factory show. I am here with Quintin Williams. So your parents were in the military, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about that for a minute. When I grew up, my parents are from the Caribbean, and I always like to say that I had a front row seat to what hard work looks like. And I feel like you probably may feel the same way too, as well. What do you, just to elaborate a little bit more on what we just talked about too, as well, but how do you think, those experiences from your parents having that military background has also impacted you today?
Man, structure, you know what I mean? Just straight up structure, man. Like up and down, making sure you have things in line. When I think about my dad, man, because my dad, he drove 18-wheelers for a long time. Wow. He just now is kind of not doing the whole excursion through the Southeast and stuff like that. Now he's more local, and he comes back home every day, and he works with Tyson. Mm-hmm. But to see my dad, man, like this man is, he's a trucker, but he's not the typical trucker. I iron my jeans every morning, I iron my shirt every morning. I tuck my shirt in my pants. I shine my boots. I go out to work. I'm on time. The respect level that he had from his peers was like amazing, because he was just like, you know what I mean? That's just who he is.
Yeah.
He gets home after being on the road 4 days. He only has, 2 days, if that, and he's out here outside working. He's either cutting the lawn or doing something outside.
Always something to do.
Always something to do. And he's still that way, man. Like, it's just, my man works, man. Like, gets up, does his push-ups every morning. Like that's what I'm talking about, man. Like that discipline, bro. Like, same for my mom. This is that's I saw that my whole life, and I still
Yeah.
see it. And when you see that stuff, it's hard. Now you have a bar,
Yep.
and you can't go lower than it. You can only go.
Right.
And
Exactly.
it shaped me, you know.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
My next question, but I think I might even know, I already may know the answer to it, is who are some of the people you looked up to growing up? Sounds like you just described two of them as we talk. But if there's anyone else, I would love to hear that also.
Yeah, man. It was my mom, my dad, my granddad. Same discipline. That's my dad's dad. Same all the way through. Then, you know, ultimately, you know, I was a basketball freak, and I still am. And it was MJ, bro. You know, just seeing his want to get it. You know what I'm saying? Like that competitiveness is, I always loved that. And then Kobe was a spitting image, and that was like, once Mike got out the game, who did I kind of focus in on? It was Kobe.
Yeah.
It was Kobe,
That's
man.
great. Isn't it crazy? Like how I remember watching the Last Dance, and you know, they were showing, you know, clips of Kobe, rest in peace, and he was, you know, and it's just the mannerisms, like down to the way he like moved his head, licked his lips, the way his arm moved when he was like walking on the court. It was like everything. It was crazy. Just, you know, you just made me think of that when you brought that up. Just, you know, and I feel like you don't hear about that enough. That like that similarity that they had. They were literally like mirror images of each other. That was awesome. No, that's great, and great role models, you know, from your parents and family, to two of the greats, you know, the two GOATs. So we're gonna take a break. You're listening to the Kicks Factory Show. We're gonna pay some bills and come right back with Quintin Williams.
And today we have
Kobe Midget, owner of Premier Flowers,
a full-service florist that focuses on delivering creative, artistic, one-of-a-kind, sensational floral experiences.
I was determined to make it work. I had made my mind up, okay, I'm not going back to my job. It's a wrap, pretty much. I funded 90 to 95% of the business out of my own pocket. I mean, like risking every single thing. What was it like? It was like hell.
That's real.
It was hard. It was challenging. It was stressful. It was everything that, you know, people go through starting out a business.
Hey, Grind Set fans, it's your host, Cynthia Daniels, and we've got more great shows coming your way, so stay tuned for more.
Kadzukian. Check out all your Kadzukian favorites now. Download the Kadzukian app, available on Android and iOS.
Welcome back to the Kicks Factory Show. I am here with Quintin Williams. So just to pick up on our conversation, you know, one of the things I like to ask, actually, before I ask that question, I want to talk a little bit about your dreams and goals, you know, as a child. I know you, or when you were younger, I know you mentioned basketball, growing up being a basketball player, but take me back to that time. I'm sure there were some hoop dreams, probably drawing dreams, and maybe it's sketching dreams, sneaker dreams. And talk a little bit about how you sort of like the two and how you sort of, they complemented each other.
Yeah, man. You know, because I always was the tallest in my school. So it was like, yeah, I'm going to the league. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what it's going to be. You know what I mean?
Right. That's right.
Like everybody else says, right? But it's interesting, man. Like while I was that, I played ball every day in my backyard, the whole thing, you know, all that. But even while I was doing that, I always drew something on the side. Like I was, when I first really got into drawing, I was drawing Mustangs because my dad was a Mustang freak. You know, all the magazines he had around, I would always try to copy them and, you know, do the GTs, do the Celines, all that stuff, man. And I had a patch for that, but then also I drew sneakers because I was, you know, on the bus with my cousins every time we got on the bus going back home, I would have the Slam magazine.
Yeah.
And, you know, I would just, you know, flip it through and, you know, towards the end, they'll have the kicks of like who's wearing what and when they're releasing, price, all that. So I was just always intrigued by shoes, but never took it serious. Like a career path because I'd never seen anybody
do it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you didn't know.
It was cool.
Yeah.
I love to look at them. I love to read about them and, all of that. But I had nothing there. Right.
Yeah.
And so as I got to high school, my senior year, I actually didn't play ball because my passion for it I realized then that the time that I would have to put in, it didn't match. It kind of drew away the passion for me for whatever reason. I wasn't attached to where I was when I was younger.
Right.
And, now I'm about to figure out what I'm going to do for college. And even then, at that point, I wanted to be a car designer.
Yeah.
And went to SCAD, went to orientation day, and they had a working prototype of a car that a sponsor class had did. And I fell in love. I knew then, all right, this is the college I'm going to.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to a couple professors, I was so impressed, right? Sent my portfolio in, got accepted. And then I'm moving through SCAD, and towards my junior year is when, I'm applying for internships, and I'm trying to figure out, like, what am I going to focus in on? Because industrial design, I went for industrial design. And what I found about industrial design, obviously you have a big umbrella of what you can do underneath it.
Right. Exactly.
And for me personally, I didn't want to be in the industrial design area, but I wanted to find a niche.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was shoes. I was like, because I remember it like it was yesterday, my grandmother, my granny, she was like, what you gonna do? I'm like, I don't know, man, and I had, at that time I had hundreds of sketches of stuff, and I even had an apparel line that I called Q-Dub.
Nice.
We had, I had the anime Dragon Ball Z kind of characters with the afro, and I had all that, and I had the shoes, I had it all, man. She was like, why don't you do something along that line? I was like, yeah.
Light bulb. Yeah.
And then I'm thinking about internships, and I'm looking at who's coming to the campus, the Nikes, the Reeboks, and all that. I applied to those, didn't make it, but then I applied to an internship in Brooklyn. And shout out to Michael Mack. He actually is a SCAD alum as well, and he was working there as a senior designer. I applied to my portfolio, and I got accepted. Mm-hmm. And then once I went there, and I got the real experience of blueprints and tech packs and shoes materials and specking, and then getting that first sample back.
Yep.
I was done.
It was over. You were like, okay, all right, I got it. That's cool, man. Shout out to Michael Mack, man. That was an OG in the business for sure. So going back to how I started this segment, there's a question I like to ask everyone that comes on the show, and I feel like I might know the answer to this one too, as well, just based on some nuggets that you gave in our last chat. Did you find footwear design, or do you think footwear design found you?
It found me, man. I feel like it found me. It was kind of in the corner somewhere, and it was kind of like, hey, you ever over here? You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm so glad it happened the way it happened, man, because I love the process, man.
Yeah. Tell me about an aha moment for you in the business when, you just described, like, when you first saw that sample and you were like, okay, I got it. But, like, tell me about another moment that, like, in it throughout your journey when you were like, okay, like, I really got this now. Like, like the confidence, like everything was there, it was brewing, you're feeling good.
I'll tell you the first one, I was like, whoa. Speaking of Michael Mack, we finished the day, because what happened was in Brooklyn, where the studio was, above that was his apartment, living in the same complex. And I went up there one afternoon after work, man, with him, and I'm in his room, man. He pulls down, I see some samples. It's like, a little tall dresser, and I see some samples up there, shoes I've never seen. And I'm like, yo, what's those? And so he pulls them down, and he had his own logo on it. I'm like, wait, this is yours, bro. And he said, yeah. And I'm like, wait. So you made your own samples? Yeah. I'm like, how? Because my mind is stuck on you design for a company.
Right.
They make them, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
So when he showed me something he designed, and it's his brand, it's his stuff.
Yep.
And he was like, yeah, man, once you get into the industry, you know a couple people, you get close with the pattern master and you can make your own stuff as long as you got the money to pay for it. Oh, man, dude.
Mind blown.
Mind blown, right? It sounds so simple today, right? It's like,
yeah.
But again, the programming of designers go work for corporate America, and you spend years there, and you build product, and you get a set salary. And that was the next aha moment, because my mom asked me, hey, you're designing these shoes. Do you get any royalties from it? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't actually know.
Like, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, right? I don't.
Yeah.
And so I went to Mac again. I was like, yo, like, how does this work? So I design it, they produce it. How does the pay structure work? And he was like, hey, man, you get paid a salary to design kicks.
Yeah.
Like, you get a set salary. That's your job. That's what you do. Right. You don't get any royalties from that.
Right.
And so for me, I was like, man, that sounds like a raw deal to me, bro. Like, ultimately, it's like the record business. It's like, dog, like, how are you capping something that I'm making you millions of dollars on, and you set me here?
Yep.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting topic, and something that we could probably take a much deeper dive into and have but we don't have the time to do that. But I would definitely love to have that conversation with you. You're listening to the Kicks Factory Show. I'm here with Quintin Williams. It's awesome hearing your journey, and I can, and I can kind of like envision it as you're describing it, and as you're like, you're hitting these milestones and you're learning, and you're like, oh, okay, all right, so this means this, and then you take a next step, and you're following these breadcrumbs, and it's amazing, to hear that story. I can definitely relate to a lot of what you're saying. One of those breadcrumbs was a place called Pensole, and you were selected by Dwayne Edwards, the real OG, the real MVP of the shoe business, to join Pensole. What was that? Tell me about that experience, and tell me about just what Dwayne meant to you during that time.
The Godfather, man. You know what I'm saying? Sensei. I mean, it's funny, man. When I finished that, the day I finished that internship in Brooklyn, I flew directly out to Pensole. Every day, what I would do once I got back from Brooklyn, I would sketch and render a new shoe every day and upload it to CoreFlop.
Oh, wow.
My whole goal was for somebody to see my talent. Mm-hmm. He inboxed me on CoreFlop and said, hey, man, I've seen your stuff. It looks like you got some talent. You ever heard about Pensole? Never heard of it.
Yeah.
This was the first time that Pensole was going to be held in Portland.
Yeah.
He was like, you should apply for this competition. And if you make it, I'm picking 23 students from around the world. And if you're one of them, you'll be out in Portland for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And I was like, bet. And so went in there, did my thing, got selected, flew out there. And, I'm like, wow, like this dude worked at Jordan Brand. Like, he's the brand director at Jordan Brand at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, Carmelo, all this, 22, 23. I'm like, wow, I'm here with like some real talented people.
Yeah.
And I'm under his leadership and mentorship.
Yeah.
It was really surreal, man. And to this day, bro, I give so much props and thanks to Dwayne, because he's shown me what he gave me confidence.
Yeah.
He gave me confidence. Like, I remember the day coming out of Pensole. It was one day we're going to lunch, and he got into the elevator with me. And he was like, yo, man, when you leave here, all I want for you for payback is for you to give knowledge to at least three other people, and then we good. And no more. And I most definitely done that over the years. But he's the GOAT, man. Like, truly, he's leading the way for a new just not even entrepreneur, but just designers to understand their worth in this thing, man.
Exactly. The mindset, right? The mindset behind it, understanding like what your like you said, what your value is and what your options are, and just representation matters, right? And seeing someone who looks like you doing the things that you're not sure if you can do gives you that extra boost of confidence. And I can only imagine when you touched down in Portland, what that felt like being around peers who were aspiring to do something similar to you. So that's a great story. And thanks for sharing that. We're going to take a break. And when we come back to the Kicks Factory show, we're going to talk a little bit about Q4 sports. All right.
Good.
The more money works for you, the less you got to work for money. Let's get this paper.
Woo! Today, we have Mr. Al Pickett, financial coach and author of The Black Print.
So do you know a lot about cryptocurrency?
It's not going anywhere. We can put it that way.
What does a sales cycle look like to become a coaching client of Mr. Al Pickett?
Why do you want to learn how to invest? Why do you want to learn how to trade? That question right there kind of really sets the tone in terms of where the conversation is going to go. I really want to design something that would give people what I wish I had on the front end. All I do is follow what the price is doing, and that's what I keep.
And we have more great shows coming your way, so stay tuned for more.
Kadzukian. Check out all your Kadzukian favorites now. Download the Kadzukian app, available on Android and iOS.
Welcome back to the Kicks Factory show. I'm here live with Quintin Williams. Man, great conversation. And just like I said, amazing to hear your journey through growing up and sort of all these steps that you following those breadcrumbs, right? And it continuing to take you to the next level, the next level, the next level. Another level of that, another question I want to ask you is, tell me a little bit about your first trip to China and what that was like for you. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, bro. Again, let's go back to the internship, man. So I finished the internship.
Okay.
I went back to SCAD for my senior year. And, right before I graduated, it's actually, let me think. This was, end of my junior year, going into my senior year. That same internship company hit me and they said, man, you did a great job while you were here. Would you mind going to China, doggone China, and live there for 2 months?
Okay.
On the factory.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. I mean,
so just to cut in for a second. So at this point, had Mike Mack told you a little bit about China yet? Did you know that was like a place where you have to go and that you knew you were going to have to go there at some point in your career? Okay, cool. All right, man, continue.
Right. And I definitely took the opportunity because I was like, I want to get in there. You know what I'm saying? So I got on the plane. I was scared, man. I'm like, I'm going to somewhere I've never been outside the country.
Mm-hmm.
Going through the whole passport thing, getting over there and not knowing, I don't know how to speak Mandarin. Like, how am I going to figure out where to go? Who's going to, you said, no, man, when you land, you come out. It's going to be a dude there with a sign with your name on it. That's going to be he's going to take you around, and you get to the family. There's going to be somebody there too. And they're going to lead you up. They're going to show you around. They're going to, I'm like, okay. All right. So I made it safe, got in there and had a little room. Because the thing was, I got there early because Mac wasn't going to be there until like a couple weeks after.
Okay.
I'm there by myself initially.
Yeah.
And so maybe like 3 or 4 weeks I'm there by myself. And so I'm there in the sample room, learning how to just oversee the sample room, man. I'm designing and tech packing and all of that, but then you got to follow up and make sure they, doing what they're supposed to do.
Right.
I'm moving around to different suppliers and going through the factory, and they're showing me all the machinery. Like they're showing me the true process, right?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
From an engineering standpoint. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
Yeah. Full circle moment, right?
Oh man, it was, if I wasn't in before, I was most definitely in once I got there and seeing it work. Yeah. Everything is, it's an ecosystem. You know what I'm saying? Everything has to merge into one product at the end.
Yep.
And if you know, if timelines aren't correct, things are messed up, you know, you gotta keep going, doing revisions, you're doing the tooling, you're going to the multiplier, you're going to the, even I done went to the aglet supplier, I done went to the lace supplier, I done been, you know, and it's like, wow, like it was amazing, man. It was amazing, bro. So
awesome.
It set me up.
That's great. I could just hear it in your voice, just thinking back to that time. But tell me a little bit about what your impressions of China was like. When you know, when I tell people about when we go to China, it's, you know, I ain't going to like Beijing and like Hong Kong. You're going to like, you know, the middle of you know, wherever, right? So like, you know, that you know, and on top of that, you stand out like a sore thumb.
Woo, what?
Everybody's staring at you. Tell me a little bit about like that, what that was like, you know, walking around like as a black man in China and like everybody looking at you. I'm pretty sure a lot of people thought you were an NBA player or something, taking pictures, like all that stuff. Yeah.
I was signing autographs, I was taking pictures. They was like, yo, Kobe. I was like, yo, yeah. I'm getting all the love, bro. I'm getting everything, dude. So it was amazing, man. One thing I always tell people every time I go to China and I come back, or if I go to Vietnam and come back, I have a different appreciation for life here. Because especially when you go to those rural areas where the factories are, you know, and you see how they live, and you see they don't have much. And they work 6 days a week, and they work like, yo, party time. You know what I mean?
They don't see their families. You know,
the long shifts. I'm appreciative when I come back, and I'm like, oh, those people, they put in work, man. They put in work on a whole nother level, but yet they're happy. You know what I'm saying? They're still, you know, for the most part, they're still happy, man. They're very close with the friends and the family. And it's like, wow, it's pretty amazing. You know what I mean? So I got a great appreciation for China, the food, the culture, the people. You know, it's just good people, man. I've always been treated well in China. The only thing that I do not get treated well is when I come into customs. And they pull me aside and they check my bags and like, yo, come here. What's
going on? What you
going on, bro?
There for? What you was doing?
Yeah, you know. You got
and then reality sets back in. It's like, oh, I'm back home. Here we go. That's great. It's great to hear that perspective of those who travel to China and what their experience was like for them. So I want to jump into Q4 Sports. Like, where did that idea come from, and like, you know, what was the meaning behind the name?
Man, speaking of China, the name came at a breakfast table in Beijing at the hotel we were staying at.
Okay.
And this was on my tail end of leaving, not even maybe mid, when I was at Peak. I was the lead designer for Peak Sports in the LA office for 3.5 years. And me going back and forth to China through the seasons of, you know, them dropping product, and you go and meet different distributors and people willing to buy Peak product, and people that already have that contract, and hearing the kind of global aspect of basketball and footwear. At that time, and went to Walmart here domestically, and what it did globally, a lot of guys, they weren't too happy with some things people were doing. They were thinking about leaving, and some people that were coming in were trying to just scout Peak and see if they really wanted to buy in. And they would always bring up N1, and they wanted to buy N1, but then they heard N1 went to Walmart, and then that dropped their brand cachet globally. They didn't want to carry a brand that was in Walmart because they can't pitch that cool factor that N1 once had.
Right.
So then the idea of, okay, because the big three, they don't need the global guys. They have their own retail channels.
No.
So who's going to fill that American void? And it's like, well, shoot. I mean, this is create one. And it's going to be called Q4, and Q4 represents the fourth quarter. That's the most exciting time of the game. And the 4 represents what we like to call the elements of the game. So that's purpose, passion, commitment, and focus. You got to have all 4 of those elements to be successful, not only on the court, but also off the court. And then that led into the product range of, really trying to figure out, what does that look like, fitting every athlete on the court and in position. And then it just kind of just started to snowball, you know what I mean? Writing the business plan, given what I just gave about that global international marketplace and why this is the time now to get in. Yeah. And then through the Rolodex, found Aaron, which is still our CEO and co-founder. And he believed in it, man. He gave a little bit of seed money just to get samples initially. Just a CEO, you know how to really make shoes, and you can design them, but can you make them for real?
Yeah.
And through the Rolodex, knew a developer that was an ex-Avia Reebok developer in China, just coming back and forth to China. And then again, just kept the ball kind of rolling, got the samples back, and then built out the entire range. And then before you know it, you now meeting other people in networks, and like my man John, he's a 30-year vet in the game, developer engineer, and he led us to a even more legit factory. And you sitting at the table talking to the president, and all that, and talking to the whole team, development team, and all that, and then it's like, yo, let's get into production. And it's as I think about it now, it's just like, wow, that journey of just connecting dots and making things.
That's it, man. Networking and making it happen. But that's awesome, and just how that story started, right? Like you identified a gap in the marketplace, and you decided that you wanted to fill it. That's business 101 right there. That's fantastic. You're listening to the Kicks Factory show. I'm here with Quintin Williams. One of my favorite movies is the Pursuit to Happiness, and like one of the scenes where Will's talking to his son and telling him that if you got a dream, you got to protect it. And starting a brand is hard. It's ambitious. It sometimes it's downright crazy to some people. Did you feel like you had to protect that dream and not necessarily share it with people because you just didn't want to hear the doubt or the negative feedback or whatnot?
To an extent, because it is a gargantuan endeavor, right? People like, yo, you going up against Nike, Adidas, and all those guys? You crazy, And you're right. Yeah, we are a little crazy over here.
Like, you kind of have to be, right, to be in the shoe
you do. You got to be crazy confident and skilled to really make it, right? And I felt that I had it, and then as I progressed, I met other people that saw the vision and saw the talent that I had as a designer to help me build. You know what I'm saying? Because I always say, man, it starts with vision, and you got to be the captain of the ship. And then if you can get people to hop onto that vision and help you kind of roll your way to that destination, you can get anywhere you so please. So that's what we've been doing, man. Yeah, it's a crazy idea. We had to adjust the model, and then we brought in, okay, we don't have the cash flow as the Nikes and the Adidas of the world. So how does the business model work in our favor to actually empower athletes and influencers to separate us from those guys? So we're truly not competing against them. We're truly in our own lane of how we do things and why we are in the marketplace. And so that just happened as we kind of got deeper into the conversation of how do we incentivize these professional athletes to wear a product that they have no clue about, never heard of? What is it what's in the sauce for them to say, you know what, I'm gonna try Q4 because they got something else that the other guys don't.
Yeah, and I want to expand a little bit more on that, but we're going to take a break. You're listening to the Kicks Factory show, and when we come back with Quintin Williams, we're gonna jump into that and dive a little bit deeper into Q4 sports and talk about legacy. We'll be right back.
1.7 billion is so much that it's more than double what the city government's budget is.
Are you really a salesman, brother? Can you sell wet to water, heat to the sun? Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready. Game.
He hype. I see him. He hype. I see him.
It would be of no charge to guess who? You.
Sign them up, coach.
Sign
them up.
What are the barriers outside the classroom that are causing students to struggle in classroom? The ABCs of support.
I told you I had 10 minutes. You should have did it in 3. The ABCs should have been there within, after the first 2 minutes of.
Are you typically doing a one call close? It's about the BIM, books, experience, and mentors.
Kadzukian. Check out all your Kadzukian favorites now. Download the Kadzukian app, available on Android and iOS.
Welcome back to the Kicks Factory Show. I'm here with Quintin Williams. Man, this conversation's been going great so far, and there's just so much that I'm learning about you and your journey, and it's great kind of hearing it in this like chronological order that you've been telling it, just from one step to the next to the next to the next. One of the things I wanted to ask you, and I want to have you expand on where we left off in the last segment in a second, but what was like give me an example of like a hard lesson that you learned, in starting Q4 Sports.
Man, I can tell you off top, man, it's team. Because even before Q4, I had some endeavors that I tried to launch sneaker brands and sandal brands, and had some success, but not the ultimate success of like keeping it there, and it was because team, you've been in the whatever space you're in, the industry you're in, and you think that you have all that it takes to get the result. Like, I know how this works. I know what I need. I can do it myself. I don't need a lot of people.
Right.
That is far from the truth, man. It is it is literally like basketball. You can't be one guy on the court with one ball,
right,
and battling a team of 15. It's right. You got to find like-minded individuals that understand the goal and the mission to help you and them collectively get the goal, the desired goal. And so that was a lesson, even building Q4. The original people that were here aren't here today. Yeah. We had to trade some people, right? You gotta filter out that kind of stuff, right? Right. And day ones may not be there day two.
Yep.
And that's part of the process. I realized.
Well, it's important to know when you need to pivot, right? And make a change for the greater good of the business and your vision and what you're trying to accomplish. So, that's just great foresight on your side and seeing that, and great leadership too as well, right? To know like, hey, if we're going to take that next step, this is what I need to do in order to do it. And that probably leads to having some hard conversations and tough conversations with people. And, that's just a part of growth, man. That's it. It's great to hear that. I want to go back to where we left off in the last segment and talking about, how do you get an NBA player to wear your shoe and see the value in it? Please, if you can pick up from there, I would love to just kind of hear your thought process and how you got that, because you really achieved the impossible, right? To a lot of people, like, how do you, like, you're not Nike and Adidas, how do you get to that point?
It was like looking at the league as, you got a league of like 400 players, and you got we like to break it down in tiers. So you got 3 tiers of guys in the league. You got tier 1 guys. That's your multi-million-dollar guys. That's your Stephs, your LeBrons, your Kobe's, all that. And so, but then outside of those guys, and those guys only represent 1-2% of the league.
Right.
So who else is in the league? Oh, tier 2, tier 3. So who's tier 2? Tier 2 is your, notable names, all-stars potentially, but yet they don't have their own signature sneaker deal.
Right.
They are getting some financial benefits, but they're capped. And it's nowhere even close to what a LeBron or Steph is getting, not even close.
Right.
Then you got your tier 3 guys that don't get anything. And if they get anything, they're just getting pure merch deals. So They're getting free product to just be a walking billboard and say, hey, I look cool in this logo.
Right.
And that's it. So we said, everybody's looking at those guys, but what about these guys? Who's really focused on those guys and giving opportunity? That's what we said, you know what, let's look over here. You know, let's actually create something that would incentivize them to put on our sneakers. So first the conversation was like, okay, we're new to this space. One, people already think that your quality is shit. They like, nah, it's no way it can perform. It's no way it's comfortable. And they put it on, and then I'm like, whoa, hold up. Actually, I actually like it.
That's right.
I actually work. I can do this. Then it's like, okay, we know that you weren't getting the opportunity to design and customize your own sneaker. We're gonna give you that.
Yep.
Even down to the point you're gonna design and collaborate on your packaging. We're gonna do all of that. Then we're gonna give you royalties based off of per sneaker sales. But you know, our original guys, the model was a little bit different. It was more so based off of analytics of social media, because at the end of the day, what we saw in the marketplace were athletes that had a brand, even if they didn't know it. You are part of a 400 club of people, and you are the best in the world. You have international appeal, whether you know it or not. We are the platform that helps you monetize what you've built in your following. Because a lot of these guys, as we all know, typically they don't think about future until they're about to leave out the league. They think, okay, I got 2-3 more years. Like, how am I gonna monetize my brand? But now your brand is a little bit older, and you have built truly what it could have been if you started that way in the beginning. So we're trying to change the mentality of athletes to say, hey, I can monetize what I have in my brand if somebody would just help me. Help me manufacture, help me develop, help me design, help me handle the whole logistics and all of that. It's an entrepreneurial mindset. And so we found those guys through just kept trying to get them to understand what's possible. And luckily we found Langston, and luckily we found Etuan, and then Darren, and then overseas Ty Lawson and Mo Space, because they got it. They understood the opportunity. And then it led to actually getting this stuff on court, and then so on and so forth. You know?
That's awesome. No, that's great. It's you know, it's funny. I've worked with a few NBA guys in the past, in the day, and like I feel like there's been this mindset shift in how they approach those type of opportunities. Before, it was like there was a point in time where there was no chance at doing it, right? Like everyone thought like one sort of linear way. They had horse blinders on, and that was it. It sounds like you guys really found a space or a way. You know, you had the pitch, but you also were able to find these players that were open to that type of opportunity, right? And and I can only imagine that probably spreads like wildfire too, right? Like if their teammates see them doing it, then now their teammates are kind of thinking a little bit differently about it. They're telling them about the brand. So that's fantastic to hear that story. You're listening to the Kicks Factory show. I'm here with Quintin Williams. I really hope people that are listening to this show today with you realize how difficult it is to do what you've done. It's not easy starting a brand from scratch. And I'm sure we could even take a deeper dive into like even more just like crazy horror stories and like just things that you had to do to figure it out. Tell me a little bit about what's next for you guys. What's next for Q4 Sports and in the future?
Yes. So going back to that business model of giving this platform, you know, we started in performance basketball, and there was a reason why. You know, obviously my background is in that field, performance basketball, but then also performance basketball lends itself to lifestyle. And so ultimately we knew a transition would be to have the off-court conversation of like athleisure. And so that's where we are right now. We are building another silo of athleisure products underneath Q4, but with that same business model, but now we can apply that to the entertainer, you know, the influencer, actor, you know, and now we can just swoop not another silo, and build on that, So that's what we are developing right now. We got a range of products coming through there. The slide, I don't know if people have seen that. That's coming. Super excited about that.
Yeah, I saw that. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. It's like, oh man. And through that, we've been in conversations with a domestic retailer that has seen those products, and they're just waiting for samples at this point. So we're working to get that done.
Yep.
So it's looking great, man. Again, we're still small. When people see us, they think, oh yeah, they got guys, they got, on the court, and it's like, dude, we're still building. Like
still building.
Yeah, like our first shoe was sold March 10th of 2017. And again, throw away 2020 because nothing happened for us that year.
Right.
But really, you're talking about 3 years out.
Yeah.
Going on 4.
Yeah.
Like, and we're now in a very interesting spot where we're getting interest from a lot of different people that we haven't before. And so, we're building, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We want to get more into apparel, cut and sew apparel, not just screen printing and getting that whole thing, but really some really customized pieces and capsules. And really focus and hone in on collaborating with some real dope individuals,
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's what they say, right? In your third year of business is really when you start to find your footing for what it is that you're doing. Right. And it sounds like you guys are entering into that space. So that's awesome hearing that. Mm-hmm. What do you think you would be if the footwear thing didn't work out, the shoe thing didn't work out? What do you think you would be doing?
Man. Oh man, that's
I always tell the story that like I would be like, I always had this interest in grounds crew keeping. Like I always just found it very fascinating with like the baseball fields and the football fields and the way like those people took care of it. So I always like to say that like, that's what I think I would be doing had I not be doing what I'm doing now.
Man, that's interesting, bro. Like if I wasn't doing, can it be design or art related?
Sure, of course. Yeah,
it would most definitely still be in some type of like sketching, ideation, because it's just part of who I am, man. I gotta create something. If it's not shoes, it would be apparel. If it's not the apparel, it would be graphic design.
Yeah, you would have found a way in a different to continue to be artistic. That's
most
awesome.
Definitely. Most definitely.
Man. Tell me about, if you could go back in time and give your younger self some advice, knowing what you know now, what do you think some of that would be?
It would be, it's almost like what Will Smith said in Pursuit of Happiness. It's like, because I'm with you, man. It's like my top 10. It's just like, man, dream big. Just stay really headstrong in what you want to do in this lifetime. It is truly like living that YOLO kind of thing. You only live once, and whatever it is that you want to do, it is possible, and you can do it, and it will take work. You it's no way around it. It's going to take work. It's going to take sacrifice, and but it is worth it. It is worth it. Just stay true to yourself, man. Be authentic. It's only one you, and be okay with that, man. Like be 100% you. Don't just be you, whatever it is.
I love that. One thing I always like to talk about too on this show is, and you've alluded to it throughout the course of this show, is the power of networking and like what that means. Can you tell me a little bit about how networking played a role in your development and how these connections and relationships you built along the way helped you get to where you are now?
Yes, sir. Props to SCAD, because the orientation day, was in the theater, and the first thing out of their mouths was like, while you're here, it's one thing you need to focus on. That's called networking. Mm-hmm. You don't know who in this room is going to be where and what they can do for you in the future. Mm-hmm. You need to network so you can obviously offer them your talents, but then also it can be vice versa, right? So networking is the key to success. And every time I'm on a panel with SCAD or I'm at a panel with U of O, I truly focus and hone in on how important networking is, man. Because even with Q4 production and getting introduced to factories, like most of these connections that we've been able to get into wouldn't happen if we didn't network and find John. And we found John through a basketball goal distributor that wanted to apply the Q4 logo on their basketball goals. They said they knew a expat named John Prescott, and you know what I mean. Like, and then I wouldn't have found Aaron if I didn't apply myself and work and put my portfolio online, so that the brand director of Peak found me, and then when I moved to LA. He knew a guy that focused in on activations, live activations that used to work for Aaron.
Yeah.
It's like, boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Man, it's so key, man. You need it. You need it.
So important, man. No, that's great. And it really, really speaks to your commitment and and realizing that, right? Like you can't be shy. You never know who you're sitting next to on an airplane. You never know who you're sitting next to on a bus or when you're in a factory, right? Like you always have to, and it also speaks to being kind and being nice to people and, and also allowing your personality to shine through. So that's just really great to hear that. And I hope those listening to the show who are trying to, one day blaze their own trail to start their own brands, really take that to heart. So, thank you so much for sharing that. And we've actually come to the end of the show. This has gone by way too quick. It was a fantastic conversation, man, just to hear your story and to learn more about what motivates you and how you've gotten to where you are now. So just as a peer and somebody you've been watching, you, man, I'm super proud of what you're doing, and I want to, and I just wish you all the best, and want to see this brand continue to grow and blow up, man. So thank you for joining us today.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate the invite. It's been a blessing, dude. Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. So that's a wrap on this episode. Thank you for joining. Actually, how can people get a hold of you on social if they wanted to reach out?
Yeah, social media, my personal is Q_designs on Instagram. If you want to follow the company profile, that's Q4 sports with an S on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And then if you want to just see some cool kind of footwear knowledge and renderings, go follow my Creative Astronaut account. It's _Creative Astronaut on Instagram.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, that's a wrap, folks. Appreciate y'all coming in and watching today. Q, much love. Good luck to you in the future. And we'll keep watching, man. So thank you for your time.
Appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
All right.